Hello, my name is Jim. We're going to be taking a look at the Festool RO90DX FEQ today on
Kilimanjaro.
This is a Festool Rotex sander. It's the smallest of the line. It's got about a 3.5 inch or 90mm pad. And as you can see, mine has had quite a long life. It still works great though, and I don't have any problems with it. But I did get it used about 5 years ago, so I've had it for a while, and you can see that the case particularly has seen quite a bit of abuse. The case is still actually perfectly functional and sturdy. I use this as a step stool sometimes, and it never has any problems. So if you would get this new, this case comes with a number of different things in it. So it comes with the sander itself, the special Delta pad that I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. It comes with a cord, a couple pieces of sandpaper, and an edge protector. So I don't have the edge protector, it didn't come with mine. I'll show you. This is the same thing on the bigger Festool Rotex though. It's a little plastic piece that goes up here. It's a little bit bigger than the pad itself, and that means that you can sand up to an edge and not have to worry about gouging into the edge of a part. Works pretty well. The Festool Rotex sanders are all dual mode sanders. They have the normal random orbital mode where it rotates slightly and shifts around in a kind of orbital manner. And that gives a nice fine scratch pattern. It's very easy to take out with the next grit of sandpaper, and in the finer finishes, it's great for having your last step. It also has a coarse mode where this pad is not just kind of floating around, it actually is geared and it is driven in a circle at a pretty high rate, and that lets you remove a lot of material very quickly. It's great for stripping paint or roughing down a surface, works really well for that. This one though has a special option. It's got this special Delta pad here. So this pad is also in a random orbital manner, but it lets you get into the corners and lets you get right up to the edges very nicely. What's really nice about this one as well is that because it's a triangle, you get 3 points to work on. The points are always what wear out first because you're always going into the corners with them. On this one, you can take the sandpaper, rotate it 120 degrees, you get a fresh corner on there. Same thing with this pad as well. These pads do wear out pretty quickly. You can rotate them around as you go. I've got a piece of an old door here. I'm going to strip the paint off it. I've got the Rotex set up with some 80 grit granite sandpaper on here. I'm going to switch it over to the geared mode, the powered mode. So sometimes you can't switch it over, the gears aren't aligned, so you just got to jiggle the pad a little bit and then it switches right over. You can't switch it while it's turned on either. So let's get sand in here. I didn't do too much of that because I'm sure watching somebody sand is just as bad as actually sanding yourself, but this makes really quick work of it. So you can see, I think there was about 4 layers of paint on here. There's a kind of purple, a brown, a black, and then a white. Took all those off real nicely, and the wood underneath is not all gouged up. I'd probably have to go up to, usually I'll switch it over to the fine mode, then switch it from an 80 to 100, then to a 120, then maybe to a 150 or 200, and then I'd be ready to paint it again. Super easy and super quick. That's the typical use case for this sander. I also have this kind of interface pad, and it's a soft foam pad, and that lets you sand curves pretty nicely. So if you've got some shallow curves, you can put that on there and sand it up pretty nicely. You have to be careful, it will gouge into it if you're not careful about keeping the sander moving at all times. So now I'll show you how to switch over to the Delta pad here. So you first have to switch it to the triangle mode like that. Then this will lock, and you give it about an eighth of a turn, quarter turn. Then you can take that off, and then this one just switches right back over onto there. And then to take this off, it's kind of the same thing. You press this green lever, give it a little turn, and it comes right off. I'm not going to bore you showing you how the triangle pad works. It works just like any other sander. I will say it leaves a really nice finish. So what do I think about this sander? I actually really like it. It's really convenient. It comes in handy all the time. Can take material off really quickly, or if you're trying to finish a part, leaves a really nice finish on the finer modes. So the only real downside with it is it requires a lot of consumables. So it also costs a lot to get, but it also costs a fair amount to maintain. You need 2 different types of sandpaper. They're not compatible with any other sanders. And the sandpapers themselves are pretty expensive. This pad and the circle pad are unique size, so it's not like you can find some third party. You're pretty much stuck with the Festool ones. The one nice thing though is that you get the 3 corners on this pad. This is the other Festool kind of triangular sandal that they make, but because it's got this kind of funky shape here, you can't rotate the pieces of sandpaper. You always wear out the corners in here and you just have to get a new piece for it. So that's something that's really nice about this one. It is very expensive up front. The full set now I believe costs about $525, so quite expensive to get, but in the long run I find it super handy to have. It's also a lot easier to control than the bigger Festool Rotexes. This one is nice and small. It's very easy to control. Some of the bigger ones, they take a lot of manpower to muscle around, and they can kind of get out of control pretty easily. So big fan of this sander, really like it. If you can afford it, I highly recommend you get one.